Well, hello. Leah Davis here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. I am going to talk about something that I still kind of deal with a little bit, not as much as before. And it's a matter of not avoiding looking at my bank account, credit card statements, whatever it is, my financials, and to be able to look at them. And I said that I still kind of have it, deal with it, but it's better than it used to be. So I'll first get started on what I'm talking about. So I used to completely avoid looking at what the heck was going on in my checking account. And then when I had credit card debt, I wouldn't even look at the statements. I didn't want to. I just couldn't. If it wasn't there, it wasn't happening. And that is directly tied to, for me, this is my experience, when I was raised in a household where I was exposed to domestic violence and um, I had to protect myself. It's not there. It's not happening. This isn't happening. And I was also groomed to walk through the world like nothing was happening. So it makes sense then that for me and what I experienced is that when I when I can to this day, experience really big emotions, especially the scary ones, when I'm full of fear, there's uncertainty. I used to always feel like the rug was going to get pulled from under me. I felt this impending doom. It was with me all the time. I didn't know that though, but I don't have that anymore, which is an amazing, wonderful way to be and walking through the world. But back then, when I was experiencing that, whew, I just didn't know how to cope. And so for me, financially, when there was uncertainty, I can't say that word today, uncertainty. There you go. Enunciate, Leah. When there was uh, my finances, money, not sure how much is going to come in, didn't know if I was be able to cover the bills because money was really tight. Uh, and didn't have enough money coming in. I just, I couldn't look. Even though I knew it probably was a good idea to look at it, I couldn't. It was too much. I didn't know how to manage my emotions. It just made me feel worse. Um, it just increased that sense of impending doom, like I said. I would spiral my mind. And back then, because I was still drinking, I would resort to drinking. So it's all tied together, right? Last week, I was talking about drinking, using alcohol, and how I think I had talked about a little bit about my money as well back then. But anyway, um, so they used to be me. And that can show up for you or anybody watching this or somebody that you know for different reasons. It could be maybe having a difficulty because there's been a loss of income, loss of job, and it's just you can't handle it. Or maybe there's something going on that's out of your control where somebody has harmed you in some way financially, right? They've taken advantage of you. They've ruined your credit. Um, you're in debt because of some actions that somebody you know did to you, and what that can do to you for not wanting to deal with it, because that's abusive, right? That's financial abuse. And so there's a lot of different layers with that. Um, it could be somebody just maybe there's life has got a lot going on for you. You've got work, maybe you got some kids, maybe you're caring for an aging parent, um, family dynamics, things going on with the family, things going on in the world these days. Maybe you haven't lost your job, but you're worried that you will. There's a lot of things happening that can create so much feelings of anxiety and stress and overwhelm. And if that is something that was also tied to your finances, and or maybe you're here listening, that it's causing you to avoid looking at it because it's just too much. You can't, it's too much. Like I don't even look at it. Embarrassment, having shame around what's going on because let me put should know better. Should. I'm saying that because I don't necessarily think anybody should know anything about their finances if they just haven't been taught and haven't practiced habits that would be more helpful. So there's lots of different reasons, right? And so for me now, like I said, I don't experience that. Okay, I do have my moments because I am a business owner. And there are times when money's flowing in, contracts are there, I got it flowing, it's good. And then it can be dry spell, quiet. Let me see if anyone's on the chat over here. No, yeah, okay. Um, and if that happens, right, like I said, it's not as difficult as it used to be because number one, I'm very clear about what's going on. I know what causes me to experience that. I know specifically what those things are. And like I said earlier, it's that sense of impending doom. The rug's getting pulled from underneath me. I'm going to lose everything. So that's where my body is saying to me, my mind sometimes may not be thinking that, but physically, my body remembers when I was not safe. So that's what happens for me. And I have a lot of different things that I do to bring myself back into balance and to know that everything's going to be okay. So there's 3 different ways that you can work through this yourself. So if you're avoiding looking at how much money's coming in, going out, you're spending, how much you have available, how much your expenses are, you don't want to look at your bank accounts, or maybe you start and you stop and you don't finish because it's just you get all kinds of icky feelings, whether that's sadness, despair, anger, agitation, frustration, whatever it is, right? Um, there's some things that you can do to start to being able to work through that. It does take practice and it does take a willingness to be able to put in some effort towards it. That's the only way change is going to happen. Could continue doing the same thing, but if you're watching this and you're hearing me talking, there's something inside of you that is desiring a change. And when we have a desire, that is when we know we're on the right track. We have a desire for a reason. So first it's identifying what's causing it. Um, maybe you're somebody that makes a bunch of money, but you don't keep track of it. I've had clients that do really well. They're doing really, really well financially, but they don't pay attention to where their money's going, and it's causing anxiety. It's causing them stress. And they're just like, well, I don't really care, or it's just, that could be something, what's causing the anxiety is they're just not keeping track, right? What the solution would be is to start keeping track for them. It's not a matter of how much money's coming in because they have money coming in, lots of it. If it's, the loss of a job, well, then now it's because there's a loss of the job. I don't have that income anymore. I was relying on that. Maybe you have X amount of savings available to get you through few months, whatnot. And maybe your unemployment ran out. I mean, there's those things, right? So that could be something. So with those things, right, a practice that you can do, because really, like I said, my body gives me the signs now more than my thinking. Sometimes the thinking's there, but it's usually a physical response, and then my brain catches up. That's me though. Some people it's automatically thinking. So let's practice the what if game. I call it a game because we can make it kind of fun. So if you've identified what it is that's causing you to avoid it, right? Now it's a matter of what if, like, where does your mind take you to? Okay. So I'll walk you through an example. I had a client who, she was really anxious and stressed about not having enough money to pay for her bills. And she wasn't looking at her bank accounts and stuff, right? So that what came down to her, we started talking about what is it that is ultimately that she's fearful of. So she started out saying something like, what if I can't pay my bills? And I was like, okay, so what if you can't pay your bills? And then what? And she said, well, what if I can't pay my bills and then the power gets shut off? Okay. So what if I can't pay my bills and power gets shut off? And what's after that? What's the next what if the power gets shut off? And she's like, well, what if the power gets shut off and then my kids get taken from me because it's proven I can't provide for them. Right. So she went down all these what ifs. And ultimately the last what if she got down to was, what if I lose everything and I'm homeless again like I was when we were kids? Because she was homeless, as a child. So her deep-seated fear that was there was homelessness. Okay. Now, the way to counteract that and to interrupt the what if thinking is to go back to the first what if. This takes practice, because or as soon as you catch yourself in the what if, right? And this also is something that you can do, not in the moment typically, but this is setting aside some time to do this. Take a notebook, what if? Sit there, go within what if, and write the next one. Get down to the last thing, okay? So if you go back and she said, what if I can't pay my bills? Okay. Now it's, what if enough money arrives right on time for me to pay my bills? It's switching it. It's the what if of the possibilities that would be amazing. Or what if I would never allow that to happen? That what if I would find a way to pay my bills? What if I were to, right? So you can switch that, and she began to switch that and interrupting it right in the beginning. Or when she realized that her mind was spiraling like, oh, okay, where am I at right now? Okay, because when you do that, you're no longer putting your attention on the worst thing that could possibly happen. Because how many times I've heard it, and it is actually really true that all the things that we really worry about don't really happen. I mean, granted, sometimes things do happen because we do have intuition, but typically the intuition is kind of in the moment things. But when our brain is thinking and going on and on and on and waking us up and we're so stressed and what, you know, um, a lot of times it doesn't even happen. So if you can interrupt that and then focus your mind and your energy on what is possible, a small shift of possibility there, you begin to shift your brain and your pattern and your thinking of what is possible, and it's expansive and opens you up to more possibilities, and more doors could open up, more options and choices become available. Okay. It could be simple as, what if I never would be homeless because I have an amazing group of friends and I'd always have a place to stay, right? So practice that. That's the first thing. So it's really finding out what you're really scared about, switching that, okay, to what if something more positive or an outcome that you really desire. Then it's about being able to set aside and committing to reviewing your spending. I when I'm working with my clients, most oftentimes those that are not aware of their spending or have not been looking at their spending, it's better to go more frequent than like monthly, and not frequent to the point where it's like every day, because that could be the opposite side. I have clients that they're looking at their accounts every day, some multiple times a day, because they have a lot of fear and anxiety about money. And so they're actually looking and checking and checking and checking, when really, it's just causing them more suffering. So find where you are, right? Um, but typically my clients will start on once a week, because it's a new habit, it's a practice to start implementing. And if it's once a month, you can do it once a month, but it's easier to start to get really familiar about your cash flow, what's coming in, what's going out every week, when you haven't been paying attention to it at all for a while, or if ever. Some clients that have never tracked their spending. So it's like, okay, let's start. Do you want to start here? And they're like, yes, I want to do this every week. And so when you look at your expenses, and I'll put this in the chat right now, you could download it. I have it's called like a cash flow tracker, and it's weekly. There's a little video on, if you decide to download it, there's a little tutorial video as well that you can click on how to use it. But you're able to see how much money is coming in for the week, what expenses you have for that week, how much is left over to go into the next week, and the next week, and the next week. So what it does is it starts to build that awareness, build that strength, that muscle of knowing what your cash flow is, right? And how much you have available. And let's say, for example, there's been a loss of income, money's tight, and you're having to pull money out of your savings to cover some of your bills and expenses. Just a gentle reminder here, that's what savings is for, to get us through times like this as well. I've had clients, be like, "Oh, I don't want to take money out of my savings. I was saving it for something else." Like, but it's there. And it's great that it's there to get you by. So, uh, lost my train of thought here. Don't mind me. I was talking about tracking your spending every week. And then when you start to get used to it, how much you have. So let's say, for example, you're going to be short, you know, money on the third week of the month. That gives you some time to figure out some things on what you can do. And if you're in a situation where you're unemployed, money is not coming in, you're strapped for cash, whatever reason, and you may not see, like, I don't know how I'm going to get the money for that, you can begin to prepare yourself to work with what's going to come up for you when that day comes by and you don't have the money to pay for something, or you just haven't built up enough to be able, you haven't tracked enough spending, so you're trying to get it figured all out. Then you can set up something on being able to work with that and how to get through it in a way that is more grounded, certain, and calm. Because when the more we come from a place of angst and frustration and all those lower frequency emotions, that affects us and our connection with other people. So if you're looking for a job, if you're wanting to close some more contracts with your business, and you're going into those conversations coming from a place of desperation, like, I really need this, because we can feel that. And then how are you truly able to show up in a really, like, light, joyful way that you can tell, right? I hope you can sense me right now, how my energy is, right? Money's uncertain for me right now because I'm like, oh, these contracts they need to pay me. So I'm waiting on that. And I know I have some expenses coming up, and I'm like, I don't want to have to dip into here to pay that. I want more stuff to come through faster. It's part of being a business owner. So my point is, do everything you possibly can. Take a few minutes once a week if that's all you can do. Even if it's just a few minutes, even if it's just getting it first week one, like just opening it and kind of scanning it and being like, okay, and have some gratitude and appreciation that you took the time to do that. Thank yourself, because that takes courage. If you've been avoiding something and you haven't been looking at it and then you do it, that is a cause for celebration. That's a win. That's like, celebrate it, because you can then start to create more of that energy of joy, more of that energy of, like I said, just expansion and, like, oh, right? You're taking the steps to take care of yourself. And all of this that I'm talking about and how to approach this is taking care of yourself. So if you do it for a few minutes and that's too much, you pause, you pull away, you're taking care of yourself. Maybe you do it once a week for 15 minutes or once a week for 30 minutes, and do it around a time of day when you are able to just kind of have some quiet time, even if it's in a different location in your home or somewhere else versus where you're typically doing things. Like for me, it kind of just depends on my mood. Like maybe I'll sit at my desk and go over my finances, or maybe I'm kind of feeling in a funk and a little tired, and sitting at my desk reminds me of work too much. So I'll go sit on my bed, or I'll sit on at the couch, or I'll go outside. I just pay attention to, how am I feeling in this moment? Is it causing me irritation to sit here at my computer desk because I'm just over it with work? Maybe this isn't the best spot for me to be able to do this right now. Find somewhere else. Okay. So look at your spending, how much you have available every week, what comes in, what comes out. And when now you can make a decision. You're taking back your control on how you're going to experience this and how you're going to move forward, versus avoiding. That's not you stepping into your power to be able to take care of yourself, right? So when we move forward and we face something that is causing some disruption in our life, or worries or fear, and when we face that, that's courage. And courage is so important. All of this takes courage. And over time, as you practice this and as you learn and you start to do this and you begin to build that muscle of, recognizing and knowing what's going on, why you're avoiding it, and but you're still walking through with it. Like I said, it's like the ability to cope with it, and to respond is so much easier. Like I have more space, right? Before I had like a shorter fuse of being able to handle it and look at my spending and be real about it. And now I have a lot more space. Granted, things are a lot more different in my life. Super helpful. um, and so it's different now. And you'll be amazed at the results that you get when you start to just chip away at this and just do this a little bit more at a time. So, um, there you go. Those are the three things that I was talking about that can support you. Identify what's causing you to avoid looking at your bank accounts or credit cards or any financial statements. What are you truly scared will happen? Like with your financial situation, like what is the what if? Switch that to the what if of possibilities to interrupt the spiraling of the mind, going to the worst possible outcome, and take action by committing to once a week, at at least once a week. If every 2 weeks, fine. But like I said, you could do monthly, but it's one of those things where if you really want to get good at something, you got to do it more frequent. If somebody wants to be able, I'm always going to give the gym reference, so please bear with me. If somebody wants to get really good at like lifting weights, well, once a month isn't going to cut it. They actually go, a few times a week. But when somebody is first starting out on their fitness journey, they may go weekly and maybe they'll go 2 or 3 times a week, right? But it takes practice and repetition. And remind yourself too, when you're doing it, just go into it saying, I'm practicing something new. I'm going to practice right now. You're just putting in the practice. You're practicing a new way of being. And it's going to be bumpy and it's going to be a little scary. And it's going to be like, you know, am I doing this right? And you're going to question and doubt yourself. But the best thing you can do too is talk about it. Okay. Talk about it with somebody that you love, somebody that cares for you. Talk about a therapist. Talk about it with someone if you're working with a financial coach, somebody. Just talk about it, which you probably would anyway if you're working with a financial coach. But you know what I mean. Talk about it. Okay. So this was helpful, I hope, for you. I put in the chat, you can download the cash flow tracker. Also, if you don't see it in the chat, go to my LinkedIn profile page. You'll see a link that says book your breakthrough with the 2 fire emojis. You click on that and that'll take you to the page where you can download the weekly cash flow tracker, where you can start, being able to start tracking your spending like a boss that you are. All right, sisters, I've enjoyed my time with you today. I'll be back next week and I will see you then. Until then, be kind to yourself. Take care.